What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the weekly comic book review show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions and whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. I'm going to be talking about Invincible Iron Man #1, starring Riri Williams as the new hero Ironheart. However, she hasn't quite taken that name yet. What we see is Riri headed into her first real battle. This is after a little bit of an introductory storytelling where we see that she is a gifted child. She is beyond compare. Ultimately, they've got to make sure that she is not bored, make sure that she is above even the person that is assessing her. And it's one of those things where it's just like, yep, she is super duper duper gifted. So immediately after we get that out of the way, we see her run headfirst into her first battle, and there's a monster, and she uses a 0-point energy field in order to defuse the situation. And she's like, it's a little bit retro, but that works, an oldie but a goodie. But she finds out that she's up against a mutant that can actually create individual monsters from her unique DNA strands, and that's something that she hasn't really encountered before. She's like super out of her element, and that's one of the most intriguing things about this. For being an extremely smart individual, she was able to reverse engineer Iron Man's technology to create her own Iron Man suit. And it's just like, oh my god, she is a genius. But she has this unfortunate thing where she can't critically think at that same point in time. She's just like, what do I do? And she's like, I need an AI, because her computer, she's like, okay, computer, process this, and it's still searching, it's still hunting, it's just not fast enough. It doesn't have the kind of reaction time she needs to be in this situation. And she's severely seeing the limitations of her own equipment and her technology at this point in time. She knows that she needs more, but she's going to try and do the best she can with the things that she has on hand. And then we break things up a little bit, because this fight isn't necessarily the main focus point. It's more of the backdrop for how things go. And then we get to do little character introductions, and this is something that Brian Michael Bendis does really well with characters, is he drops character moments into different action sequences, so that way you get a little bit of backstory, you get a little bit more action, you get a little bit of backstory, you get a little bit more action. And what we see is, she's a relatively isolated individual as a child. She didn't have a whole heck of a lot of friends. There was this really cool girl, Natalie, who's just like, what's this interesting thing? Comes in and she explains it. It's just like, so this gives the people this ability to do that. All I gotta do is push a button, but it really needs to be the size of a watch or like a necklace or something a little bit more useful. And it's just, she was already thinking about how to help out the superhero community before she ever really came to this conclusion. And the reason that she came to the decision, the reason that she decided that she needed to be a superhero and replicate this technology, was because of the unfortunate tragic incident that really follows along with every single superhero. This came in the form of some gang violence in Chicago. A drive-by really stunted everything, robbing her of her stepfather and her best friend. And ultimately this feeling of isolation and growth and the need to kind of protect individuals just grew from there until she actually completed the Iron Man armor and ended up in the situation she's in now. One of the things that she did have the access to was past video archives, like on YouTube and stuff. So she finally saw how somebody defeated this person before, used her new kind of remote-controlled levitating gauntlets, smashed her in the face, and then all of a sudden, boom, save the day, no more monsters, because the constructs couldn't contain themselves. They couldn't hold on without their user. So she ultimately wins the day, but realizes the limitations of those kind of things, until she gets a little bit of a care package, and there we see a familiar face. However, he's unfortunately in the form of a hologram. Pretty sure everybody already knows what's going on, especially based on Infamous Iron Man, but it's one of those things where it's just like, so when are we going to see that moment actually happen? Because it's been confirmed in multiple books at this point in time. It's just we need to see it in action. As far as the art's concerned, Stefano Caselli does a great job with the art, and I really like the characterization of Riri, especially when she's inside her armor, when she's outside of her armor. She has got so much individual character and flair to her. It's just hard not to like the character design. There's just a lot of different aspects of her that are appealing, and I really like that she's not afraid to get dirty. She'll throw her hair back, she'll throw a bandana or something like that over her hair. She's got gloves on, she's got a welding mask. She is like a tactile engineer. She is a lab kind of person. She's practical. She builds things. And it's really conveyed very well in the character. And overall, the suit design is just rudimentary at this point in time, but I'm really excited about the strength of the art style that's going into this book and with the strength of the character, because Brian Michael Bendis does really good character work and he takes care of his own. I'm really excited to see where Invincible Iron Man goes. I think Riri is going to be a very strong successor to Tony Stark as Iron Man, and I can't wait to see what kind of adventures she gets into, because there's so much progression. This is like hopping on to Iron Man in the 1960s. You know, when he was inexperienced, when he didn't know what to do, when he was growing as a character. We get to watch this journey take place, and that's the most exciting part of the entire book. The fact that we get to see her explore what her potentials are and how far she can go before she hits her limits, if she ever hits her limits. So I can't really recommend Invincible Iron Man enough. Definitely worth all the hype, and I can't wait to see where we go in the next issue. So that's my review of Invincible Iron Man #1, but I want to know what you guys thought too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.